And I'm back. We're talking relationships this week here on Pete the Planner, Pete's Money School. Should name it something. The reality is, I do my radio show out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and then I list my radio show on my podcast on Thursday. So on Tuesdays on my podcast, on the Million Dollar Plan, you get an interview with one person from somewhere in this country, and we fix their financial life. It could be you. Just go to PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. I'll fix one person's financial life a week. And then on Thursdays, we put my radio show on there. That's what we do. It's fun. Do a little radio. And then our radio show now is how do you become a millionaire? What skills do you need? As you've been listening for years. I've been doing radio in Indianapolis area and around the country for, 8 years now. This is not about greed. It's not about getting rich quick or investment tips, stock tips. I don't do any of that. It's about behavior. How can you have the right behaviors to accomplish what you want to accomplish? Which leads us to the topic of this segment. Oh, by the way, I'm recording this via video this week. It's something new we're trying. Go to youtube.com/PeteThePlanner. youtube.com/PeteThePlanner. You can see radio. It's weird. It is weird. So joint financial goals. If you're in a relationship, inevitably, whether it's money, spirituality, physical fitness, different people have different goals. Like my wife and I, let's start with fitness. My wife and I have very different financial goals. My wife is an amazing athlete. I am different than that. My wife runs marathons, New York Marathon, Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon. She's good and she places and sometimes she wins local races, and that's what she does. So her fitness goals are, hey, I'd like to run a marathon in sub 7-minute miles. That would kill most people. My fitness goals are, I want these pants to fit next week. All right, so both decent goals. Hers are arguably better than mine. Hers are better than mine. But both goals are important to us, and she wants my pants to fit too. Now, how about in terms of money? We have kind of different financial visions. Maybe there's something that she wants to purchase because she would enjoy it, and it is a goal of hers to always to have had something. Great, I have those things too. But when joint resources and limited resources, because we all have limited resources, are used to indulge things like that, situations can get rough. A financial situation can get rough if all the financial resources are going to indulge consumption and pleasure goals. We need to make sure that you develop financial goals to move your net worth higher, because if you don't, you will never be a millionaire, which is the goal. You will never be a millionaire if all of your joint financial goals are consumption goals. Ask yourself right now. Say it out loud. It's going to be weird, but I don't care. Do it anyway. I want to know, right now, say it aloud, your first 3 financial goals that come to mind for your household. Now, if you're single, that's fine. But if you're not, if you're in a relationship, what are the 3 joint goals for your household? How many of them are consumption goals? Right? Because that's what I'm afraid of. That we're just dealing in consumption goals. Well, we wanted to move next year, we need to get a new car, and we want to go on vacation. Yeah, all 3 of those are consumption goals. How many are net worth goals? We'd like to pay off my car by 2017. We were hoping to pay off my student loans by 2019, and we're hoping to have $25,000 saved by June of 2016. Those are all net worth goals. Do you see the difference? Because if you, we'll say save, acquire, accumulate, set aside might be the way to go. I was thinking out loud there. If you set aside money consistently for a consumption goal, although it's good that you develop the habit of setting aside, aka savings, the money's gone. But if I save or set aside the same amount of money every month for a net worth goal, you get to keep the money. And you've developed the habit of savings or setting money aside. I know that seems elementary, and maybe you're like, yeah, that's really obvious. No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I don't think people realize that most financial goals within households are consumption goals. By the way, there's nothing wrong with a consumption goal. But if all you have is consumption goals and you're wondering why you don't have any money, that sound is me trying to say I'm right. It's rude, a little haughty. Yeah, you need to have more than consumption goals. So here's what I encourage you to do at your next household budget meeting. I know, I'm serious. Household budget meeting. Takes about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I want you to say, hey, we're going to establish some joint financial goals here. We can have a consumption goal, but we also need a net worth goal. How are we going to do? We're going to pay down some debt. We're going to accumulate some money. Is it a goal of ours to both max out our retirement plans at work? You very rarely hear that one. Hey, what are your financial goals? Well, Pete, I want to max out my 401k at work. No one says that. Why? Why? It's kind of like the best goal, but no one says that. I'll say, hey, what are your financial goals? Well, Pete, I want to get a new car, come up here in a few months. No, look, I know life happens, and practically you're going to need to change vehicles and do these sorts of things. But I would argue you will not be a millionaire, A, if you don't have financial goals. Not to be dramatic here, but it's kind of true. Let's go back to my wife for a second. My wife is an amazing athlete. Why? Because she trains like a beast, and she sets goals because it keeps her on track. She has a training program. If you have a financial life with no financial goals, then hey, you're never upset because you don't ever miss your goals. And you also have no direction other than south or down. Down isn't actually south. On a map, when you're in third grade and you're learning about maps, you think south is down. And apparently, as the 38-year-old radio host, you also think south is down. That's weird. That's a weird thing to admit, that I don't know what I'm talking about. You have to have other goals than consumption goals. When you're having your meeting, just pick. You got three choices. You're going to either pick a debt reduction goal, okay? And when you set a goal, it needs to have a time of a completion and a dollar amount that it takes to complete it. For instance, we will pay off $3,000 in credit card debt, which equals $1,000 a month, by July of 2017. Okay? The other sort of goal can be an accumulation goal, such as savings. So we are going to have 2 months expenses set aside in our emergency fund by October of 2017. And 2 months expenses happen to be $11,000 total, $5,500 a month. And the third is a longer term accumulation goal, retirement or college. So for me, Mrs. Planner and I, one of our primary financial objectives right now is to fund our kids' college. And we do that by tracking it, and we do that by running at a goal. If you want to be a millionaire, which I argue you have to actually have a reasonable life when you want to retire, these are the things you have to know. You have to set financial goals. You have to. And they can't be consumption goals. So sit down with your sweetie, turn on some Prince. Rest in peace. Rest in purple, Prince. I almost wore a blouse today in honor of Prince. Rest in purple. That's the best hashtag I saw. Rest in purple. I don't know. Anyway, put on some Prince. Set some time aside, open a nice bottle of wine, if it's in the budget, and talk about joint financial goals. Coming up after the break, biggest waste of money of the week, and the bee that tried to kill me. That's next. I'm Pete the Planner.